Paytm getting the final nod from RBI.
I think this is a landmark moment, certainly for the company and possibly for the Indian consumer as well. I think to answer your question, we've all been eagerly awaiting the launch of these payment banks and the Paytm payment bank in particular. Everybody is looking at what they're likely to offer. Clearly, we can expect a huge marketing campaign at the launch of the bank. And I think, in the beginning, we'll probably see a lot of, short-term benefits to the consumer. But what will be interesting to see is what is the long-term strategy of the bank in terms of, once the consumers are with them, how are they going to monetize it and make money? And how will the consumers get differentiated services and offerings from the bank? I think a few things we do know is, they will probably be completely paperless. So all the onboarding will be through Aadhaar and through eKYC. Much like the Jio mobile experience. We can fully expect that there will be some very attractive offers. I think the philosophy of the company has always been to think long term, to get customers to start using the product over a period of time. And I think we are all moving to the world where data is the new oil, especially in financial services. So what that means is making sure that a large number of transactions are first flowing through your system before you can monetize the transactions. I fully expect the bank to be both disruptive and innovative on all fronts, and it should be quite an exciting time for all consumers as well.
Right. Sanjay, considering the incumbents, be it your State Bank of India, HDFC or ICICI or even Axis Bank, they've upped the digital offering substantially in the last few quarters. Do you think there is still scope for multiple models to exist here for traditional banks, payment banks, small banks? How is it going to pan out going forward? Because it's not like HDFC or ICICI or SBI don't have a digital strategy in place. They've also introduced their own wallets. So take us through, the competitive landscape here.
Yeah. So I think just to step back a little bit, banking has really not penetrated the masses, when it's not just the question of opening an account and maybe receiving your salary or your allowances or government disbursements into the account. It's actually having a slew of services that you use to generate savings and create a credit history so that you can borrow from institutions rather than from ad hoc money lenders, right? So banking as a suite of services is still very, very nascent in this country and really available maybe at scale to the top 30 to 60 million people. So we have still got a lot of headroom in terms of growth opportunity in the country. And having said that, there are certainly three pockets, I think, which will emerge here. Clearly, the new banks, the payment banks, as well as the small business banks or the small banks are likely to, disrupt the market and create, new types of services. Their cost structure is going to be very lean, and therefore they'll be able to be very competitive. These will be all digital entities, right? And so you'll see one category will be the new players that are emerging in the market. The second category, of course, will be the incumbents. And most recently, we have seen Kotak with the 811 service, which is a world-class experience with digital onboarding and, a high-quality user experience catering to the sort of the India One market and the youth here. And I fully expect that all the banks, whether it's State Bank of India, who have recently announced a hackathon, whether it's HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, and Axis Bank, will all come up with these world-class digital banking experiences to target the Indian consumer. The third category that will happen is the smaller of the incumbent banks who may not have the ability necessarily to directly offer these services, but who will partner more aggressively and openly with startup companies to offer these services. So I think there'll be three pockets that will emerge. And I think the bottom line is, there will be some winners and those who don't adopt this new age of, onboarding customers without any friction and giving them the best quality services, they are going to be in a bit of trouble and will have to adapt quite rapidly. I think what is going to happen is from a regulatory perspective, given that Aadhaar and India Stack and CKYC and UPI are, four big elements that are going to be common denominators for everyone. I think a lot of the traditional differentiators are not going to be relevant anymore. And so I think we're going to have a level playing field for once, and you're going to see an Indian consumer with a plethora of choices. And I think that's ultimately what's going to be the winner here. Who's going to be the winner here? It's the Indian consumer. So there are going to be exciting times, very turbulent times for a few companies. But in 2 to 3 years, I think we'll see a new category of winners emerge.
Right. Customers king at the end of the day. Good news for all of us at least. But Sanjay, in terms of monetization, that's going to be a challenge, right? Because if you look at payment banks, they cannot undertake lending activities. So where is the monetization going to come from? And they will also have to now invest in customer acquisition because there's no guarantee that, all your wallet users will also become account holders in your payment bank. So, tackling these two challenges going forward, what scope do you see there?
I think definitely, one cannot rest on their laurels anymore. I think traditionally we've all been trapped with a bank because the cost of onboarding a customer was so expensive that once you got into a bank, you ended up buying all the services that bank offered. Moving forward, I think we're all going to move to a world of marketplace banking, where the bank that you choose will be based on a particular service that you want at any point in time. Switching costs are going to be extremely low, and as you know, with UPI, you can use any bank's application to do your transactions. It does not have to be the bank you're banking with. So what will happen once again here is consumers will just choose the services based on the best offer that they get. And I mean the offer in a holistic way, the best service that they get, and not just the financial terms. So I could be banking with an HDFC bank, but I could get a car loan from ICICI Bank. I could get a home loan very conveniently from a third bank here, right? Like State Bank of India, for example. And so as a consumer, and so the banks will really have to up the ante in terms of the experience they give the consumer, the customer service they give the consumer, as well as, of course, the financial benefits that the consumers get. So monetization, each bank over time will really start forming their niches of expertise and will be known for certain areas. Of course, the big guys will do everything, but consumers will know that, this is the best place to go for service XYZ. In terms of monetization from the long-term perspective, I think is how the bank should approach it. Clearly, in the short term, a lot of, there's a land grab here, and we'll see a lot of marketing dollars to acquire consumers. And the monetization models will really emerge over time.
Right. Sanjay, so is this the way forward then? Standalone wallets, can they really survive, or is the option here to really, do what a Paytm has done, acquire a wallet, a payment bank license, become something beyond a wallet? So standalone wallets, do you see a future for them at all, considering you also have UPI now?
Yeah, I think, we have to also assume that this is an evolutionary phase, and the standalone wallets, the only large player that's left today is MobiKwik. They're also, going to do other things, right? So they've already started innovating, and I fully expect the PPIs, or the wallets as they're called, will start doing other things in addition to just being, wallets for transactions and payments. So I think over time, we'll probably see a convergence of wallets and payment banks and banks themselves. From a payment transaction perspective, I fully expect and hope that we'll see everybody on unified payment interface in the not too distant future.
Right. Finally, Sanjay, before I let you go, in terms of users, we put out some basic details on what really changes, what doesn't change. You mentioned marketplace banking, but do you really see users becoming comfortable with, banking with more than one or two players, having an incumbent bank, having a payment bank, and, having a UPI? Do you see that happening going forward, where, user patterns, they will have perhaps a payment bank for something, an incumbent bank for something, a bank number 3 for something else?
Yeah, I think, over a period of time, not everybody will fall into the same category. There will be some early adopters and we have a very young population in India, an emerging smartphone population in India. I don't expect we're going to see a winner takes all, but there will certainly be some banks that will do better than others. With UPI, I think from a merchant acceptance perspective, we're going to have open interoperable payment network, one payment network, and so everybody will be able to pay with UPI to any merchant. So that's sort of where I expect we will end up over a period of time. But I think, really from a consumer perspective, since the only thing that matters is having an app on your phone and KYC is, an account opening is going to be so easy to do, consumers will not really see it as doing different things with different people. They'll just see it as doing the right thing with the right partner, right? I mean, many of us also shop at different stores today, and I think that's what will end up happening. Now, there will be some early adopters. There will be some, people who wait for this to settle down before they jump in wholeheartedly, and there will be some laggards in the system. But that's why we're a country of 1.3 billion people, and there is going to be a massive opportunity here, literally for everyone. I do want to make one more point is that the platform that we've got in India with Aadhaar and, eKYC and digital signatures and unified payment interface, it's really one of a kind, right? There is no parallel for this that exists anywhere else in the world. So it's hard to look at some other country and say, well, this happened there, therefore it will happen in India. And I think what we are setting up here in India is really a model that the rest of the world is watching very closely and is probably going to be a model that will be cloned in other parts of the world over time. So we're really blazing a trail here in India.
Right. Blazing a trail in India. Thank you so much for joining us, Sanjay Swami, to really take us through the intricacies of, how payments, banking as we know it will evolve, will change. And remember, Paytm Payment Bank goes live next Monday, May 23rd. So we will be getting you detailed coverage next week as well. But this is certainly an important moment as far as the Indian payment space is concerned to really see what changes a payments